And I just happened to run across you on YouTube a couple of nights ago, and I am absolutely fascinated by your videos. You are the most thorough person on YouTube about spray foam. I love your videos.
Hello everybody, Mike with Spray Jones. I have a feeling that 2024 is going to be the year that the lies just cannot hide anymore. Do you have that feeling? I have that feeling. And so far, 2024 is not disappointing. Welcome to video number 8 in the fake news series where we are dispelling the lies, the myths, the outright slanderous claims that people have on the internet towards spray foam and the spray foam industry. In the previous 7 videos, we have been knocking down R values, air sealing, moisture problems, flame retardants, whether they're safe or not, melting and fire of spray foam insulation, whether you can be trusting and should be using good installers, what are the conditions in the chemistry, and in this video, we're going to cover off, well, we're finally ready to cover off insurance. Will you get insurance? Can you hold insurance? Will insurance companies cover you? Will underwriting cover you? Will the building code cover you? Or are you on your own? Today will not disappoint. Insurance is a business. It's very close to what I would call gambling. The reason being is that you're running the odds, you're running the percentages on what's going to happen next, and you're going to bet money, put money up where your mouth is, to determine what's going to happen, good, bad, or otherwise. So businesses of insurance have to make money, they have to minimize risk, and they need customers. So for businesses to come out and say, insurance underwriters, that they're just going to put out a policy that states 0 spray foam, either in your house, in your building, or you as an installer. They're not going to underwrite you as an installer. Means that they're now not going to have your business. So start to think about a written policy that they're not going to insure your house. That could disqualify them a little or a lot from a huge section of market. So they need to sort out the percentages of what are the odds of failure. As of right now, in 2024, I am not aware of any written policy with major underwriters in Canada or even in the US that have stated flat out no to spray foam insulation in a house for the purpose of thermal insulation and what have you. Now, I understand that there are certain insurance companies that deal with bugs and particularly cockroaches and termites. And if you want to have a guarantee for termite inspection, they won't do it with spray foam insulation. That's a little bit different. It's something that's impeding their inspection services, and they cannot verify what kind of a risk they're getting into. Therefore, they don't want to write a guarantee policy for termite damage when spray foam is being used. That's a little bit different, and that has to be sorted out because the actual thermal envelope needs to be able to be established. But that's a video for a totally different topic. So out of high percentage of loss, there's 3 tiers of protection that insurance dovetails into. The first is the building code. I've never seen insurance companies go against something that meets industry standards for the building code in the jurisdictions, whether it's commercial buildings or residential. So for let's just say you want to use zip insulated sheething. Okay, I have not seen where an insurance company will sit there and say that they won't insure the house if you use Zip, because it meets the building code. It meets the testing and the criteria. You can't just go and build a product and then bring it to market and sell it. We've got all these testing and standards. So if your product is meeting building code standards and the standards written now in Canada, we have CAN-ULC, we have a master specification for the spray foam, and the installers and the suppliers have to meet that, and then the installers have to meet it. So I've not seen insurance go against something that meets the codes. Secondly, is they deal with insurance is fine when you have design professionals and advisors. So this is going to be professional engineers. This is going to be architects. This is going to be drafting people with architectural technologists, and then the whole entire inspection agency. So those tiers of inspection and specifications, I've never seen insurance sit there and tell an architect, no, we're not going to insure the building if you write it for this product, or a professional engineer. In fact, I've seen most municipal building codes, they don't even want to make a ruling on something. They want to have a professional engineer or an architect or a third party sign off and seal. And then the third group that they don't go against generally are suppliers. So if you've got a huge multinational company like BASF, like Huntsman, like Carlisle, if you've got some large equipment or chemical manufacturers out there that are developing products, spending tens of millions of dollars on R&D and product development, I've not seen where the underwriters have come in and said, okay, now we're not going to let you sell this. You can't put this into the homes, right? Now, the thing to understand is that underwriting insures all three. You're going to have insurance with municipalities. You're going to have insurance for errors and omissions and professional general liability insurance for the architects, the engineers, the drafting, the inspection agencies, and then you're going to have underwriting for suppliers. And then me as a contractor, we have commercial general liability insurance. Not so much in the errors and omissions because we're not writing specifications. So does my insurance deny me the minimum amount that I need, whether it's $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, $5, $10, $20 million? I mean, majority of commercial job sites will not let you on site without $5 million of commercial general liability insurance. And then on top of that, $1 million worth of vehicle insurance. So does my underwriter come to me and say, you're in the spray foam industry, we're at a high risk of this stuff having a problem, and therefore we're not going to insure you, Spray Jones? I mean, I don't know how you're putting this into buildings, Spray Jones. We don't even want to insure the buildings that you're putting this in to high rate of problem. Therefore, we don't want to underwrite you as a company. No, that's not the case. I've had no problems. So by the time you reach the homeowner or the property owner, the major consideration for insurance is, does it meet and recognize building code? And I've not seen where in Canada or the US, I've not seen also where banking institutions, mortgages. In Canada, we have something called Canada Mortgage and Housing. They're a major lending institution that writes a lot of policies. I've not seen RBC, CIBC, Toronto Dominion, the local credit unions. I've not seen any financial institution sit there and say that they're not going to give you a $200,000 or $300,000 or $400,000 mortgage, whatever you need to borrow, if you're going to be using spray foam insulation in the structure, a little or a lot. I've never seen it. I've not seen them turn you down on insurance for solar panels, geothermal. I've not seen somebody say that if they're buying a house that was built in the 70s, the first house that I ever owned was built in the 70s, had aluminum wire in it. They don't even allow aluminum wiring anymore as code, right? It broke. It was too brittle. It had too many problems. Does that mean that my house isn't inherently a fire? No, it just means that there was a product that was on the market that they don't recognize anymore. They use copper wiring. So, did the bank loan us money for that? Yeah. The only time that I have seen financial institutions get really concerned about something is when there has been a massive problem with toxicity and something being unlivable. And that would have been in the urea formaldehyde foam insulation days where the product wasn't even mixing properly. They were pumping it into the walls. They could play around with the ratio. They could play around with the suppliers. They could install outdated product. This is before there were ULC standards, UL standards. There wasn't fire standards. There wasn't off-gassing. There wasn't any of the testing that we have now. There wasn't any of the master specification and certification to recognize the product. See, when you put the standards in place to have your product from a supplier standpoint tested and certified what goes into it, and then you've issued it lot numbers and you can track it, and then you've trained the installers how to do it, you're sort of removing this missing hunting of quality. Okay, it comes down to installation at that point because the suppliers are making a credible, reliable, bankable product that has met all of the installation requirements of the day that the codes are wanting. Then I just need to install it. Right. And then down to that, our insurance is going to say, what are the percentages of risks? Do you know what you're doing? How long have you been trained? I mean, if we're constantly having problems or the industry is constantly having problems, then they would need to look at that and say, maybe we do want to get out of insuring spray foam guys. Or maybe we're having a problem over here with a couple of people who install spray foam and we don't want to insure them because they keep having problems. That's on a case-by-case basis. So if you had a job and something went wrong and somebody violated and didn't do what they were supposed to do, that's between you and that's litigation. You're going to say, what were the obligations? What did the builder supposed to do? What was the roofer supposed to do? What was the spray foam guy supposed to do? Who was this supposed to advise who on what? Did somebody install something backwards, upside down, wrong, off ratio? Did it when it was frozen? Did it when it was wet? I don't know. That's a case-by-case, individual address-specific issue. It's not an industry-related issue. As far as the industry is concerned in spray foam insulation, it's a credible product. It meets building code. They're honest-to-goodness, multi-billion-dollar industry of foam being sold in North America. The suppliers are verifiable and the installers are verifiable. The insurance companies want a cut of all that money. They do. So are they sitting there saying no to us? No. Are they sitting there saying no to the people that are going to build homes that want to put spray foam in? No. The number one thing I've seen in agricultural is that insurance and underwriting wants to see the spray foam covered. They don't want to see it left exposed. So again, they want their fire risks mitigated. And we've had requests where they've gone out and put fireproofing over top of foam in shops and sheds and done hard panel liners and stuff like that, not leaving the foam exposed because they want to make sure that they don't have a risk with fire. So I'm not going to be able to give you sauce documents where somebody sits there and says foam is approved because you have to produce documentation saying, regardless of what you'd want to think and do, we're not going to allow this product to be installed. There is no written policy that way, right? We have not reached a point where the insurance or mortgage industry is wanting to say they don't want the business if you do the following. Because you're up against an entire industry that has demonstrated within a reasonable doubt that the product works, and we've got more case studies of it working than we do of not. So in this situation, fear does not dominate and sensible heads prevail. So I hope that answers your questions. Click on the like and the subscribe. Lay out a comment on this video. I'd like to hear back from you as to what you have to say, and we will catch you on the 9th and final video where we're going to discuss what it's like to be living in a total spray foam bubble. See you then.